All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second webinar of the Sustainable Hospitality webinar series. Today, we are going to be talking about energy conservation strategies. My name is Caleb Powell, and I'm an environmental scientist for TDEC's Office of Sustainable Practices, and I'll be hosting, sort of being the webinar host, helping out with the chat box. And any type of issues that you might have when it comes to audio, video, stuff like that. So just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone is muted upon entry to decrease the amount of background noise that we have. And what I'll do right now is we still would really appreciate questions or comments.
Taylor, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Can you hear us? Can you hear me, Hugh?
Caleb, can you hear me now?
Yes, but I don't know if you can hear me, Hugh.
I've tested my speakers, and it's coming through on my speakers when I test.
Let's see.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you, though.
All right, I'll figure that out real quick. But as I was saying, so we would still appreciate questions and comments throughout the presentation. So I'm sending a chat to everyone currently so you can see where that chat box is. And what we'll do now, I'm going to try to figure out Hugh's audio issue, but what we'll do is I'm going to pass it on over to Sophia Yan, and she is going to introduce our speakers and everything, and then we will get started.
Hi everyone, good morning. While Caleb is getting everything situated, I'm going to tell you a bit more about TDEC and our Office of Sustainable Practices. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so moving forward, the Sustainable Hospitality Program is provided by TDEC within the Office of Sustainable Practices. And for folks who came to...
And when I hit test my speakers, the test works.
I'm still trying to remember what those words are.
Caleb, is there any way you can mute Hugh for now, or do you guys need the communication? Very sorry about this technical. Okay, great. Getting back, so TDEC, Department of Environment Conservation, maybe a couple of, most of you, if you're a business owner, have interacted with us, the department in general, because we would like to say we regulate everything from air, water, to a lot of other business standards. However, the Office of Sustainable Practices is a special force within TDEC, which means we're a non-regulatory branch of TDEC, and we focus on promoting and educating businesses and communities on sustainable practices beyond existing regulatory environmental regulations. Here, I want to show you guys a list of business sustainability programs that's currently existing.
Okay, go down to the bottom. It says test speakers.
Caleb, sorry, would you mind? So a list of business sustainability programs. We provide programs for specific industries, so such as the Tennessee Green Star Partnership, recognized manufacturers in Tennessee that's operating sustainably. Tennessee Sustainable Spirits, a very fun recognition program that provides technical assistance to help winery, brewery, distillery in Tennessee to operate more sustainably. And a part of the program that we are in right now is Tennessee Sustainable Hospitality, which provides technical assistance to support this big hospitality industry in Tennessee. And there are other less industry-specific programs, such as the Materials Management Solution that helps support the infrastructure of circular economy in general, the Get Food Smart program that helps different organizations to reduce and divert their food waste. And there are a list of other programs that I will drop the link for our OSP website, and you can go browse these programs on your own, or you can sign up for our OSP newsletter to stay updated on different programs that we have. All right, send it to the group chat. And next up, I'm excited to introduce the panelists for today's session. So I am my name is Sophia Yan, and I am the Business Sustainability Intern within the Office of Sustainable Practices. Outside of OSP, I'm a third-year student at Vanderbilt University studying organizational behavior and economics. Now, I would like to pass it to Chris to introduce himself and answer the two icebreaker questions. What is your favorite city or county in Tennessee, and what do you think is an underrated tourist destination in Tennessee? And I want to say thank you to those folks who has hopped in onto yesterday's meeting. You may have to hear a lot of the similar material twice, but thank you for your patience. Now on to Chris.
Thank you, Sophia. So my name is Chris Pianta. I work with TDEC's Office of Sustainable Practices. I'm one of the program managers within that office. Happy to talk with you all today. As far as the icebreaker questions, my favorite city. Well, I did go to school in Knoxville, so I do really enjoy Knoxville and being able to go back to the football games, and I have my son actually at UT right now, so I try and get back there to visit with him whenever I can. So really enjoy that, and just its proximity to the Smoky Mountains too is always nice as well. So as far as underrated tourist destination, when I first came to Tennessee, I worked at a summer camp down in on the Ocoee Lake, and I've always loved that southeast corner of the state. That's kind of like, Chattanooga's there, but this is kind of a little northeast of there, and it's a little hidden place, and Ocoee Lake is beautiful, and the mountains there are beautiful as well, and not a lot of people know about it. Some do because of the great whitewater rafting there, but it's still a little bit of a hidden gem down there. So that would be my answer for number 2.
Thank you. Let me check in. So Caleb, is there any progress on Hugh's audio situation?
Sophia, can you hear me?
Yeah, yep. I can hear you.
I'm in good shape.
Okay.
I can hear you too. Good.
Perfect. All right, Hugh, welcome to the party. Would you mind introduce yourself briefly and answer these two icebreaker questions?
Sure. My name is Hugh Morrow. I'm president and CEO of Ruby Falls, which is a 93-year-old attraction here in Chattanooga. And obviously my favorite city is Chattanooga. I'm born and raised here, never lived anywhere else. And the most underrated tourist attraction or tourist destination in Tennessee, I think, is Bristol, Tennessee. I think it is the birthplace of country music, and they've got an incredible heritage up there. If you're ever in the northeast portion of our state, stop in and see what they have to offer. I'm going there Monday through Wednesday of next week. So.
Great, amazing. I'm pretty self-interested in asking this question because I'm currently making a travel list for my senior year for places in Tennessee. So thank you for your contribution. And just a note throughout this presentation, feel free to send any questions that you have to a chat box, or you can send it directly to Caleb, so he will be able to facilitate the Q&A session in the end. But for now, I'm going to hand it to Hugh to talk about his presentation on the energy sustainable practices at Ruby Falls and the financial impact of these decisions, and also communication with his guests.
Super. First of all, it's very intimidating to be on this with Chris. I'm far from an environmental scientist. I'm just a business person who enjoys working in the sustainable environmental arena and trying to make our business operate in a more sustainable way every day. First of all, I want to thank TDEC for hosting this. This is a huge part of, as we look towards visitation to our state, we have a wonderful, wonderful asset in bringing people here, but we want to operate it in a sustainable way so it'll last for many, many generations. Yesterday, I also want to thank the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. Yesterday, I was with that whole group for 6 hours, working diligently on bringing people to Tennessee and better ways to do that. And being that we're involved in visitation to Tennessee, I work with TDEC, I work with Tourist Development, we work with Labor and Workforce Development, and we work with TDOT. So I want to thank all Tennessee employees that are on this call for all their hard work they do in supporting our industry. So I'll start off with that. Appreciate y'all's efforts. If you'll notice on the side of the slide, it says growing green. What do we mean by that? And I remember our first board meeting when we started talking about operating in a more sustainable way. And one of our board members looked at me and goes, well, if we do all this, will we be green? And I said, no, not near green enough. It's a constant improvement. And that's what we've seen over the past 12 to 13 years as we've worked through this. And the most important thing you can do in your organization is changing the culture so that they know that everything that they do, whether it's procurement, operations, marketing, that we approach it from a sustainable way and that it's okay to invest in that as you work through each year. So as you finish or work through these processes, you'll find that it's not only a wonderful environmental decision, but it becomes a positive economic decision as well. And that's what we have found here at Ruby Falls. It also is a journey. I was preparing for this last week, and seeing my presentation, I can't show you these sheets of paper, but I've got an old file from 2010, which was a committee we put together that came up with ideas of how we could operate in a more sustainable way. And there was over 100 suggestions, and I think we've only worked through 30 of them in 12 years. So we have a lot of work to do. It's a journey that we don't see is having an end, but having improvement every single year that we operate. So that's kind of our mantra. What can we do now to even further improve on what we're doing? Because there is no finality to it. So there's not a time when it's finished, and it was the moment we wanted to do what was right, and we wanted to be leaders in our industry. I'll show you a picture and a few slides in front of us where we installed electric charging stations for cars. I think it was 12 years ago. We probably in the first 10 years of that charged 12 cars, maybe. But it showed that we had a commitment to electric vehicles for those that wanted to drive one. Now we actually, most of the time, have a waiting time to get to our chargers. So again, we wanted to be leaders and show our industry that we can operate in a more sustainable way. It kind of fit naturally for us, the environmental commitment. For those of you who have been through our operation, we were discovered in kind of a unique way by a fellow by the name of Leo Lambert. He was trying to reach a lower cave that had been closed off by the railroad along the river coming out of Chattanooga, and so he decided to drill down to it. About 3/4 of the way there, he found an opening, and he crawled back and discovered Ruby Falls, and that's how it kind of happened. If he had drilled the elevator shaft 10 feet to the left or to the right, he would have missed that opening, and we never would have had Ruby Falls. So it was by chance that it was found, and it's a really neat story. But as we built the walkways back to the cave, we took the limestone out of the cave and repurposed it to build our iconic 1929 castle. So I don't know any history from 1929, but I would say the rock that we repurposed out there was the largest repurposed process done in that time of the U.S.'s program. I think it's about 3 million pounds of rock that they brought out of there. So, and we've kind of maintained that over the years to try to keep the woods in their natural state and the parking areas and to give it a very natural feel as we go forward. People also ask, you know, as a guest services business, whether it's restaurants, entertainment, attractions, hotels, lodging, whatever it may be, why do we do this? And there's been a ton of surveys on this topic, but the one that we kind of stick to is that 70% of the people that attend our facility expect us, want us, and get a better experience if we're operating in a sustainable way. I actually saw a survey last week done by Expedia that has said it's up to 90%. But I'm going to stick with the 70% of people that expect us to operate this way, and that we should not damage the environment. Another good example is I stayed in a hotel Monday night in Nashville, and I couldn't find a place to dispose of some beverage containers that I had, and I threw them in my suitcase and brought them home. So that, as a guest, that's annoying. You can work around it, but it would have been much better guest satisfaction if I'd had a place in my room or on the hallway to dispose of those so they could be recycled. So it's important. It's also important that they notice whether or not you're set up with the way you conserve water or electricity or whatever it may be within your organization. And again, it raises their guest satisfaction while they attend. And then also we wanted just to get ahead of the curve in everything we were doing to set up processes as we procure, buy, and operate. One of the first things we did in 2009 is we added solar panels on 2 of our roofs. The building that you're looking at there has since been added in 2017 and 2018, and so the building it replaced, we moved the solar panels over and placed them on the back side. One of the neat things that happens in our 500,000 visitors every year is a majority of them walk along that pathway that you see the deck along the rocks in the back. And so they're staring out over Chattanooga in the valley, and they can't help but look at the solar panels that are in front of them. So it sets a culture, it's a good way to show people that this can be done in your operations, and also it's an economic positive for us every single month as we work through that. This was an old program that I'd always tell people about because there's other programs available. But in 2010, we received it's called a 10-set grant that covered 40% of the cost of installing that solar power. We also got a federal tax credit, which was $27,000. So the net cost of a $150,000 project was $63,000. The amount of electricity that creates offsets around, at that time, about 6 to 8 weeks of the energy we used in our cavern to light it. We have 600 light bulbs in that cavern. So, and they burn all during the day. It's kind of hard to get sunlight down there when you're 1,100 feet under Lookout Mountain. So we thought we could get a 23-year payback on this, and it had a 25-year warranty. What happened is as we went through not only renewable energy and getting into solar power to offset that, We also went in and changed out all the light bulbs and all of the processes in the cave, which cut our energy consumption by half. So the 6 to 8 weeks went to 12 to 16 weeks of offsets, and the payback happened a lot quicker by doing that. The part that you have to be very careful with, because we're in the tourism business, is you have to make sure that you look at guest satisfaction, which is extremely important. So to tie in renewable energy and conservation into your program, it still has to increase the guest satisfaction, and I can't say that enough. So the original light bulbs that we looked at 13 years ago, the LED light bulbs that we looked at were extremely bright white, and nobody wants a bright white cavern. We don't want it to look like a Walmart or a Food City. We wanted it to be warm and inviting and look natural. So we had, in the beginning, we had to go with CFL bulbs, and then we ended up changing out to LED. I remember the first LEDs that we purchased. They were $59 a piece. $59 a piece, and I think my board of directors thought I had lost my mind. But the payback on that was fantastic in that we cut our energy consumption by half. And the other thing it did is it raised the guest satisfaction because the cave was lit better, and we didn't have incandescent bulbs burning out all the time. We would change out of those 600 bulbs, we would change those out, probably about 10 to 15 of them a day, and they would go out all during the day, and we don't have that problem anymore. Everything in our cavern is well lit, and with the LED bulbs, not only do you use half the electricity, or even less than that, they don't burn out. So everybody gets to see everything, and it just raised the whole satisfaction of people attending. This is kind of what it looks like in our renewable energy, and again, we had to combine that with conservation to get even a better payback. We have all this signage on this to show people what we're doing, to educate them on the positives of solar power that we use. Again, a little graphic here just to show you in the first 3 years of that's what happened to our power usage on campus, and the trend continues to go down. So it really was an economic decision as well as a sustainable decision. Now, one of the things that we did in this process is we decided to get third-party certification of everything we were doing, whether it was recycling, whether it was the way we were chlorinating our fountain out front, to the way we were watering our plants, to safety. And so we brought in Green Globe, which is an international certification company, to put us through a certification process, and then the Green Light certification, which is through Green Spaces here in town. We went through that same process because we want to make sure that our guests understand that we are being audited on the back end of all this, so everything that we say we're doing, and that is having a positive effect on the environment. And everything that we've added since then, I like to show this because our Zip Adventure, there are no electrical processes other than point of sale, and it takes human energy to get to the top of the tower, and it takes gravity for them to zip down off of it and to zip back. So it's a very naturally built process in our trees behind our building. It's a great way to see the view of Chattanooga. We've also worked closely with our friends at the Lookout Mountain Conservancy to donate land for them to use for biking and foot traffic, for people to walk through our property. We gave them a permanent easement to be a part of that. So again, it's not just the electrical and the savings on our operations, but other things that we're doing. This is our charging stations that are now extremely busy because there are a lot more issues and a lot more people bringing electric cars to our property. So we're excited about being a part of that. And then we added Wi-Fi throughout the cave, so you can actually Skype, Zoom with anybody you want to, 1,100 feet under the ground. But the main reason we did this was to make our operations more efficient. So eventually we will connect all of our lighting to this, and it also enables us to have a better communication system so that we can be more efficient when we have an issue in the cave, whether it's a maintenance issue, et cetera. So that was one that you start putting fiber optics all the way through a 2,500-foot cave, 1,100 feet under a mountain. It was a definite challenge. Again, it's brand awareness of the way we want to approach our operations. We are a natural attraction. It wasn't built. It can't be moved. It's a cavern inside with a waterfall at the end of it. So we have to operate in a way that makes us more sustainable. One of the things that kicked us into this, if you'll remember, the last time gasoline was almost $5 a gallon was in late 2008, and they were talking about a 3 and 4 times increase in electrical power cost. And so we knew we had to, that's other than direct labor, that's our #1 item is electricity, just because we're having to light a cavern all during the day. So we had to do something to cut our consumption and to create renewable energy to supplement that going forward in our operations. So it's a branding of growing green and a brand awareness of how we need to operate being a natural attraction. And kind of in closing, and I look forward to answering some of your questions, it is, a lot of people will ask me, so how did you get started? What was the first thing you did? It seems like it's going to be completely difficult for our staff to deal with going through these types of operations. My suggestion is to start somewhere. Just one little item, whether it's going to more efficient lighting, starting recycling, whatever it may be. You don't have to jump into this by buying a couple $100,000 worth of solar panels. That's something that you'll graduate to and move to. But I can promise you, your guests and the people at your facilities, their satisfaction will increase when they see you operating in a more sustainable way. Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I will leave the Q&A session in the end in case that people don't have time to stay until a bit after 10. So we'll now hand the conversation to Chris, but for any participant, please feel free to leave your question in the chat box, or if you want to speak up at the end, feel free to unmute yourself when it's a Q&A session, but we appreciate your patience. Now on to Chris. Thank you again, Hugh.
Thanks, Sophia. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today about how you can improve the energy efficiency within your business. So there are a lot of costs involved with running a business, and since energy consumption is one of the biggest overhead costs for businesses, understanding your electric bills will help prevent your business from overpaying. But one size doesn't fit all. Average electric bills vary across industries and different types of businesses due to many important factors, including geographical location and energy usage. In Tennessee, we're fortunate to have one of the lowest average electric rates of any state. According to the U.S. Energy Information Association, Tennessee ranks 7th lowest at 11.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So energy costs estimates for businesses also depend on which electrical devices are being used to help run your business, from LED light bulbs to computers to heating and cooling systems, printers, These all use energy differently and therefore come with varying average costs. So you can see by looking at this table some of the different types of devices used in businesses and their associated costs as well. So here are a couple of examples of two different types of businesses and how energy costs impact them. For grocery stores, you have energy needs like ventilation, cooling, and cooking that contribute to a store's electrical usage. However, it's refrigeration and lighting that make up more than 50% of total energy consumption. According to Energy Star, grocery stores spend approximately $4 per square foot on about 50 kilowatt hours of electricity and 50 cubic feet of gas every year. So that translates into a $160,000 electric bill for a mid-sized grocery store that occupies roughly 40,000 square feet. For hotels, according to Energy Star, full-service U.S. hotels spend an average of roughly $2,200 per available room each year, which accounts for 6% of their total operational costs. And that figure is based on the benchmark that states these businesses spend an average of $1.05 per square foot on electricity each year. And because comfort, cleanliness, and convenience are important to the hospitality industry's target market, hotels can be resistant to implementing some of these conservation measures that might be perceived as cutting costs at the expense of the guest experience. And this, unfortunately, has resulted in slow progress with the year-over-year energy cost reductions for the hotel industry at large. So what can businesses do to reduce their energy usage and costs? I'll discuss a little more in detail here some of the options that businesses have to help improve their bottom line. First thing you can do is a business energy audit. Some utility companies provide free energy audits to businesses upon request. And really, it's about understanding your business's power consumption, and that can go a long way in saving money and also reducing your impact on the environment. We'll talk about energy efficiency also. Just trying to find a more efficient way to complete your business's operations in a way that will reduce your costs. Projects such as LED lights and sensors, sealing up your facility's building envelope, and upgrading HVAC systems, they can all have significant impacts on your electric bill. We'll talk a little bit about load reduction and how just turning off certain devices that aren't in use can also make a difference. And then the last thing I'll talk about is commercial renewable energy plans and how they can reduce the business's carbon footprint while contributing to their bottom line. So to be able to improve your business's power consumption, the first step is really to be able to understand it, and this is where an audit can help. And an audit is an in-depth outside and inside, room-by-room examination of your business's current energy efficiency levels and usage practices, and it can provide several benefits. One, it can save money. Professional audit really can pay for itself, offering the opportunity to discover the most effective ways to cut operating costs through these energy efficient improvements. The average commercial building wastes 30% of its energy dollars, meaning an investment in efficiency can return on average $1.50 for every dollar invested. Improved health and safety is also another benefit. By identifying and correcting potential dangerous problems, especially in older buildings, auditors can detect possible health and safety risks such as carbon monoxide from improperly operating or improperly vented combustion equipment, radon leaks, and other things as well. Also increased comfort levels, improvement in insulation and air sealing, reducing heat transfer, leading to a more stable, efficiently heated and cooling space. This increased comfort through an improved thermal envelope can lead not only to increased productivity, but also, a reduction in your utility costs. And then lastly, it can also provide protection. Energy audits not only protect the environment by reducing fossil fuel pollution, but also ensure a more secure energy future for everyone. So even addressing something as simple as lighting efficiency can net big results. So you can contact your local utility company to learn more about the opportunity for a free or reduced price energy audit for your business. Rebates, tax credits, and other incentives may also be available toward your energy audit in efforts to encourage reduced energy usage and the conservation of our natural resources. Wanted to talk briefly about Portfolio Manager. Portfolio Manager is a great interactive resource management tool that was developed by federal government's Energy Star program that businesses can use to benchmark their energy use for any type of building. It's the most used energy measurement and tracking tool, with almost 25% of commercial building space in the U.S. currently using it. Businesses can enter their current energy use as a benchmark for their existing efforts, and they then receive an Energy Star score or rating depending upon their building's energy performance in comparison to similar buildings nationwide. And as the businesses then begin to implement energy efficiency projects, they can input their reduced utility bills and see how their projects have improved their energy score. Portfolio Manager can helps you to identify if your building is underperforming, and help you identify best practices, set your investment priorities, verify your savings, and also earn recognition. If your building receives an Energy Star score of 75 or higher, it may be eligible for an Energy Star certification. So after you've completed an audit and established your benchmark in Portfolio Manager, you're really ready to begin completing projects that can help you reduce your energy usage and save you money as well. Energy efficiency projects, in business essentially refers to being able to perform a business operation to get your desired result, but being able to do it using less energy. For example, if you want to be able to turn on all your lights that you need to run your business, but be able to do it using less energy. Or same thing with being able to run all the equipment that you need to operate your business, but again, being able to do it using less energy. About 10 years ago, our department received roughly $26 million in settlement funds from TVA. The money had to be spent on projects that reduce air emissions and pollution. So we developed a grant program called the Clean Tennessee Energy Grant and offered a lot of that money to external entities who are wanting to complete various energy efficiency projects that would help them to reduce energy usage and the associated emissions from power plants. But we also used approximately $6 million of those funds for our state parks to complete energy efficiency projects. Our parks are really our more traditional business side of our department, where we're providing services and activities and lodging to our customers and guests. So I thought I would share some of those project examples today. Okay, so LED lighting upgrades were some of our most popular projects due to the relative low cost and quick return on investment. LED lights are powered by light-emitting diode technology that helps lower energy consumption by up to 75% while also delivering long-term light quality. We replaced all types of bulbs in our parks, including halogen, incandescent, high-pressure sodium, and fluorescent. So there's really an LED equivalent for any type of inefficient bulb that's currently out there. And LEDs last much longer as well. According to the Department of Energy, today's LED lights can last up to 15 to 20 times as long as those other bulbs that I mentioned. And to further reduce your lighting-related energy usage, you can consider installing occupancy or motion sensors that turn lights on only when there's someone in the room. One great example of this was at South Cumberland State Park, which has several remote bathhouses throughout the park for our hikers. In the past, they had a ranger driving around each morning to open the bathhouses and turn on the lights, and then driving around in the evening to close them and turn off the lights. So what they did was install some LED lights and also added occupancy sensors, which significantly reduced the usage from roughly 8 to 10 hours a day to probably around more like an hour, just for whenever someone was actually using the bathhouse. So yeah, a significant savings there. Photocell sensors are also popular in our parks with all the outdoor lighting. The photocell detects when it's getting dark and turns the light on, and then senses when it's getting light again in the morning and turns the light off instead of staying on all day or having someone have to remind themselves to turn it off themselves. And here is an example of one of our lighting projects that we completed at Old Stone Fort State Park Museum. As you can see, the project not only resulted in significant cost savings for the park through the reduced energy usage, but as you can see, it improved the overall lighting within the building and ultimately the visitor's experience as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about was building envelope, and yeah, something you definitely want to consider when you're looking to reduce your energy costs at your facility. And when I talk about building envelope, it basically refers to the physical separation between the conditioned and unconditioned environment in your facility. All right, so, well, let me go back. Yeah, and so, yeah, so the heating and cooling costs are normally the largest percentage of a business's energy costs. So, yeah, if you're able to secure that building envelope, make sure everything is sealed up nice and tight, it can really help reduce those energy costs. And so, yeah, you really want to focus on all parts of the envelope, which include the roof, walls, windows, doors, and also the floor and below grade as well. At Fall Creek Falls Nature Center, we replaced an old roof that had a leaking issue for several years and installed a more energy efficient sprayed polyurethane foam roof. It cost roughly $50,000, the project, but it was estimated to save more than $40,000 in energy savings over the life of the building, but it also helped a lot with the leakage as well that was going on. And the great thing about this type of roof, after 20 years, which they said was the life of the roof, all you have to do is remove that top seal coat and then replace it. Just replace that top coat for roughly $5,000. So it's a lot cheaper just to replace it every 20 years. And yeah, so definitely a good return on investment there. Windows. can be the cause of a lot of wasted energy as well if not installed and maintained properly. At several parks where we replaced single pane and older double pane windows with more efficient argon-filled double pane windows. As you can see here, the seal on the older double pane window is broken, causing some condensation to build up and essentially making that double pane window act as a single pane. So yeah, a couple of different benefits to installing the new windows there. Window film was not an energy efficiency project that was initially on our list of projects, but we had recently completed a window film project at Tennessee Tower, and which cost roughly $475,000 to do, but there was going to be annual savings of $362,000 on our heating and cooling. So yeah, like less than a 1.5 year return on investment. So we saw the success of that project and thought, yeah, maybe there's some things we can do in our parks as well. And plus, we had done the tower project using a 3M product, and Eastman, a Tennessee company, of course, had found out about that, and they're like, well, why aren't you using us? We have a very similar product that we think you all can use. And so they offered to actually do a free pilot project at Sycamore Shoals, and with using their Interlogic film is what it was called. And so yeah, you can see the project there, Sycamore Shoals that they did. And yeah, it wasn't any small project. Those are giant windows from like floor to ceiling. And they did that for free, and it really did a great job. So we did it at a few other parks as well, including Long Hunter that you can see there. So, and using that window film is basically the equivalent of replacing a single pane with a double pane. So a lot cheaper than buying brand new windows. So if the seals and everything are in good shape, it's a lot cheaper option just to add that window film. Doors, another important part of the building envelope. Not only can a door improve efficiency, but also building safety and durability. 11 parks received new energy efficient Seco security doors. Again, Seco was a local Tennessee company that we wanted to use to support local business. And in the cases where the doors were in decent shape but not adequately sealed, and you can see that in that picture on the right, you can kind of see there's space between the two doors. We added weather stripping to seal up those doors. And then the last piece of the building envelope is the floor or below grade. At Nathan Bedford Ford Museum, we completed projects such as doors, window film, and HVAC. We didn't want to do those without addressing the exposed crawl space underneath the building. This building is located on top of the highest point in Tennessee, west of the Tennessee River. And so it's exposed to weather and the elements year-round, and we wanted to make sure that its building envelope was going to be secure. And so completing this project improved the building's energy efficiency by reducing the impacts of weather exposure on the underside of the building and the HVAC ductwork. And you can see in that before picture, yeah, the ductwork there completely exposed to the elements. So really was inefficient, and we really wanted to get that all sealed up nice and tight to improve the efficiency of the building. And then, so once you've secured your building envelope, then you can address the efficiency of your HVAC system. There's really no point in addressing HVAC if you have a leaky building and it's just going to the outside anyway. So yeah, so once we had sealed up building envelopes, we looked at improving HVAC units. We replaced units at several parks, including Lone Mountain, which you can see here. We replaced like a 20-year-old unit there. And all the new units that were installed had a SEER rating of 16, a minimum SEER rating of 16. And basically when you replace like an 8 SEER unit, which I think this one was, with a 16 SEER, it can actually improve or provide up to an estimated 50% savings on your heating and cooling costs. Okay, so something else. So once you've looked at all the ways you can make your operations and equipment more efficient, you can also further reduce your usage by turning off devices that are not in use. At a minimum, printers, computers, and monitors should be adjusted to the sleep mode to prevent costly bills for electricity that's not being used. Low load devices can also benefit from being charged on a power strip that allows you to turn them off with just one switch. And then lastly, I wanted to mention commercial renewable energy plans. The Clean Energy Plan can help businesses reduce their carbon footprint while also, again, contributing to the bottom line. There's commercial solar, which Hugh just talked about, and the great success they've had with their solar project. There's also commercial wind plans. Carbon offsets, where emitters, including businesses, can fund and take credit for greenhouse gas reductions from other projects or activities elsewhere. And all of these options can offer reliable energy sources to power your business's electricity needs. And that is all I had.
Thank you so much, Chris.
You're welcome.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for the Q&A session, but before we start, let me just have 1 minute to talk about our upcoming 2 sessions. Caleb, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Oh, I have it. I got it. Okay, so as a part of the webinar program we're all in right now is a part of the Tennessee Sustainable Hospitality Program, and you will be able to find that on the Tennessee TDEC OSP website that I sent towards the beginning of this webinar series. And one thing before jumping into the Q&A session is that I want to promote the other 2 sessions. If you haven't signed up already, I was sending the registration link to the group chat really quick. You may have to copy and paste that into your browser individually, but the next 2 sessions coming up also have a similar presentation format as the sessions today. So tomorrow's session is the waste reduction and diversion session, where we have 2 guests. One, Michael Ryan, the owner of New Terra Compost Company located in Chattanooga, as well as Kelsey Davis from TDEC to talk about food waste and general waste reduction diversion. And the second session for the green purchasing and events, we have a professor from the Vanderbilt Business School, as well as an owner of an outdoor wedding venue to talk about their green processes. So let's hand it back to Caleb to facilitate the Q&A sessions. But tremendous thanks to both speakers, and looking forward to the questions.
Okay, we had a couple come in. Let's see, let me go find this one. This one was for Hugh whenever Hugh was speaking. So we had a question that said, what does the cost look like for installing charging stations? And then another part of that question was, are they powered by the solar panels?
Great questions. The solar panels themselves, we were part of the original Blink rollout, and so they provided those free of charge, and we only had to get the power to them, and where we located them was right near our power source. So if I remember correctly, it was around $2,000 to get them installed, would be my guess. And we've since moved them to a better location. We paid for that movement as well. And they are not powered by the solar system. The solar system is actually in a, we send that back to the grid, which often can get an offset to the power that we're using. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that definitely answers the question.
And getting back to the chargers, I mean, we did those 12 years ago and have not been in the market. So for me to say I know what it costs to put those in, I'd be speaking outside of my knowledge.
Thank you. It says, let's see, we got another one that came in that says, do you know how high windmills need to be at a minimum to power a building? So I don't know if this is for Chris or Hugh, anybody that's got some insight on this.
I do not have a lot of insight on that, but yeah, I know Tennessee is not the most popular place for wind, but yeah, we have just a few locations in the state, but yeah, as far as a minimum height, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think just from my experience, I feel like there's a lot of variables that go into wind power, depending on where you're at. Like you said, Tennessee, we've got a lot of trees that probably make it a little bit more difficult to capture like wind. So yeah, I'm sort of ignorant when it comes to the height requirements or minimums with windmills. I have another question. This is probably for you, Chris. It says, can someone speak to who can apply and how to apply for the CTEG that you were talking about?
Yeah, well, actually, we no longer have that program available to external entities. We only have roughly $750,000 left, and we've already dedicated those funds to some additional projects within the department. So, yeah, that program really just started back in 2012 and really finished up, 2 or 3 years ago as far as, having grant funds available to external entities. Sorry about that.
All right, let's see. Just had a couple comments basically saying thank you, great information, great presentation. Some people mentioning that they're going ahead and having to drop off, but I'm not seeing any more specific questions. So, first off,
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I think I see one in the question Q&A session. Someone asked, okay, are your solar panels, I'm assuming this is for Hugh, are your solar panels powering your facility, or do you have to sell your solar panels to TVA, then you buy it back at a reduced cost?
The answer would be B. We are sending that back to them, and then we get a credit back each month on the power that we send back to them. So it offsets what we're using, but it approximately offsets about 12 to 16 weeks of the power we're using in the cave.
Thank you. Caleb, is that all the questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Amazing timing. We're right at 10. So thanks everyone for participating, and really appreciated y'all staying through this entire session and ask important questions. So to stay connected with OSP, we have a newsletter. Oh, that we could. Interesting. So someone in the session said we'll have a list of participants we can use to connect to anyone who might need our clean tech solutions. So if everyone can look in the chat box, there is Steve from the Amerisco Energy Solutions. I'm assuming they provide clean tech solutions. We can circle back, see ways we can connect, but thank you everyone for participating in the session. If you can sign up for our newsletter or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. I'm gonna drop those handles really quick. Sorry. So our Instagram account is the State of Sustainability. Our Facebook is Tennessee Green Government. So there are multiple ways to stay connected with us to see new programs that we have coming up. But thank you so much to the speakers today. We will stay behind for a minute or two to see if anyone has questions they would like to ask individually.